AI is often wrong, but it almost never sounds unsure. And that combination is exactly why people get misled by it. In the next few minutes, I'll explain why AI makes confident mistakes and why that matters more than you think. Hi and welcome. Before we begin, I'm curious, where are you watching this video from? Let me know in the comments. I really enjoy reading them. Now, let's talk about today's topic. One of the most dangerous aspects of modern intelligence systems is not that they make mistakes, but that they make mistakes confidently. When humans are unsure, they hesitate, they ask follow-up questions, and they often signal uncertainty in their tone. This technology does not do that. It does not know when it is guessing. It does not feel doubt. And it does not warn you when an answer is based on weak or incomplete information. Instead, it produces language that sounds fluent, structured, and certain, even when the underlying response is incorrect or misleading. This happens because these systems are designed to generate the most likely next words, not to evaluate truth, accuracy, or safety. If a confident-sounding answer is statistically likely, it will be produced, regardless of whether it reflects reality. For humans, confidence is often associated with expertise. When something speaks clearly and decisively, we naturally assume it understands what it is talking about. This creates a dangerous mismatch. The system sounds like an expert, but it does not understand the topic it is discussing. It does not know whether an answer could cause harm. It does not know when context changes the meaning, and it does not know when it should pause or stay silent. Because of this, confidence without understanding is what makes these mistakes so easy to miss and so easy to trust. Confident errors happen because these systems are not built to evaluate truth, but to produce responses that sound reasonable based on patterns. They do not check facts, they do not compare answers to reality, and they do not pause to consider whether a response might be wrong. Instead, they generate the most statistically likely continuation of a sentence, based on everything they have seen during training. This process works well when information is clear, consistent, and well represented in data. But it breaks down when information is incomplete, ambiguous, or rare. In those cases, the system still produces an answer. It does not say, "I don't know," it does not hesitate, and it does not signal uncertainty. This is because hesitation is not part of the mechanism. When humans are unsure, they slow down, they re-evaluate, and they often change their tone. These systems cannot do that. They move forward automatically, producing fluent language even when the underlying information is weak. Another reason confident errors occur is that training data often contains contradictions. Different sources disagree, different explanations conflict, and different assumptions are mixed together. The system does not resolve these conflicts, it averages them. As a result, it may produce an answer that sounds coherent, but represents no single correct viewpoint. From the outside, this still looks like expertise. The language is clear, the structure is logical, and the tone is decisive. But underneath, there is no understanding, only probability. This is why confident errors are not rare accidents. They are a natural outcome of how these systems work. Understanding this helps explain why confident answers should always be questioned, especially when decisions matter. People tend to trust confident explanations, even when those explanations are wrong. This is not a technology problem, it is a human one. From an early age, people learn to associate confidence with competence. When someone speaks clearly, without hesitation, and with a steady tone, we assume they know what they are talking about. This shortcut works reasonably well in everyday life. Experts usually sound confident. Uncertainty often signals lack of knowledge. But this mental shortcut breaks down when applied to automated systems. These systems do not experience doubt, they do not feel uncertainty, and they do not change their tone when information is weak. As a result, every response sounds equally confident, whether it is correct, partially correct, or completely wrong. For a human listener, this creates a problem. There are no natural warning signs, no hesitation, no uncertainty, no visible difference between a strong answer and a weak one. This makes it easy to assume reliability where none exists. Another reason confidence is trusted is effort. When an answer arrives instantly, structured clearly, and explained smoothly, people feel relieved. The mental effort of thinking, checking, and questioning is removed. Over time, this convenience trains people to accept responses without scrutiny. This does not mean people are careless. It means human attention naturally shifts away from verification when something feels authoritative. The combination of fluent language and instant delivery creates a powerful illusion of expertise. That illusion becomes especially dangerous in situations where accuracy, context, or responsibility matter. Understanding this tendency helps explain why confident mistakes spread so easily, and why trusting tone alone is never enough. Recognizing this pattern is a key step toward using intelligent tools responsibly without surrendering judgment. Confident systems tend to fail most clearly when real-world context matters more than patterns. In controlled environments where inputs are predictable and outcomes are clearly defined, these systems perform very well. But the real world rarely works that way. Real situations involve incomplete information, they involve changing circumstances, and they often involve consequences that cannot be fully anticipated in advance. In these situations, understanding context becomes critical. Humans can recognize when a situation feels unusual. They can pause when something does not align with expectations, and they can adjust their decisions based on experience and intuition. Automated systems cannot do this. They do not recognize when a situation is unusual. They do not understand when context changes the meaning of information, and they do not pause when uncertainty increases. Instead, they continue producing responses as if the situation were normal, even when it is not. Another point of failure is responsibility. When humans make decisions, they are aware that outcomes matter. They consider risk, they anticipate consequences, and they accept accountability when something goes wrong. These systems do not have that awareness. They do not understand harm. They do not feel responsibility. And they do not learn from mistakes in a human sense. As a result, confident responses can appear in situations where caution would be more appropriate. This is why relying on confident output alone is risky. Without human oversight, errors can go unnoticed, assumptions can go unchallenged, and responsibility can become unclear. Understanding where confident systems fail helps clarify why human judgment must remain involved, especially when decisions affect people, safety, or long-term outcomes. Because confident output can be misleading, using these systems safely requires a different mindset. The goal is not to eliminate mistakes entirely, but to prevent confidence from replacing judgment. These systems work best when they are treated as assistants, not as authorities. They can provide suggestions, they can summarize information, and they can help explore ideas quickly. But they should not be the final voice in decisions that matter. Safe use starts with questioning output instead of accepting it at face value. Important information should be checked, critical details should be verified, and conclusions should be compared with other sources or human experience. This does not mean distrusting everything. It means maintaining awareness. Another important principle is slowing down when confidence feels unwarranted. When an answer sounds decisive in a situation that is complex or uncertain, that is often a signal to pause. Humans are capable of recognizing when a problem requires caution. They can sense when information is incomplete, and they can decide when to seek additional input. These systems cannot make that call on their own. Responsibility must also remain clearly defined. Someone must be accountable for decisions, someone must understand the consequences, and someone must be willing to revise a choice if new information appears. When responsibility is blurred, errors become harder to detect and correct. Using confidence systems safely means keeping humans in the loop. It means treating output as input, not as instruction. When this balance is maintained, these tools can increase clarity and efficiency without replacing the judgment that protects against serious mistakes. Understanding this approach allows confident technology to be useful, without allowing confidence itself to become a liability. As these systems become more common, their impact on work and decision-making will depend less on technical ability and more on how people choose to use them. In many workplaces, confident output can easily be mistaken for correct output. Clear language, structured explanations, and fast responses can create the impression that a decision has already been made. This can quietly change how responsibility is handled. Instead of people thinking through problems themselves, they may begin to rely on generated answers as a starting point and then slowly treat them as conclusions. Over time, this shifts accountability away from humans, even though the responsibility never truly leaves them. When decisions affect customers, employees, or long-term outcomes, this shift becomes risky. Humans are still the ones who must explain why a decision was made. They are still the ones who face consequences if something goes wrong. And they are still the ones who must justify outcomes to others. Confident systems cannot do this. They do not understand organizational goals. They do not understand trade-offs between short-term gains and long-term risks. And they do not understand how decisions interact with human relationships. This means organizations need to be intentional. They need to define where automated assistance is appropriate and where human review is required. They need to slow down decisions when uncertainty is high, even if a confident answer is available. At an individual level, the same principle applies. People need to stay engaged with their thinking. They need to question outputs instead of outsourcing judgment. And they need to recognize when a decision feels too important to delegate. When confidence systems are used without clear boundaries, they can quietly reshape decision-making culture. When they are used thoughtfully, They can support better outcomes without removing human control. Understanding this difference is essential for using powerful tools responsibly in real-world settings. To use confidence systems well, people need to change how they interpret confident output. Instead of asking whether an answer sounds correct, the more important question becomes whether the situation itself is suitable for automated confidence. In simple, well-defined problems, confidence is often acceptable, the cost of being wrong is low, and errors are easy to detect and correct. But in complex situations, confidence should raise caution rather than comfort. When outcomes affect people, when trade-offs are involved, or when consequences extend beyond the immediate moment, confidence without understanding becomes a warning sign. Humans are capable of sensing this difference. They can recognize when a decision feels too important to rush. They can notice when something feels oversimplified. And they can pause when clarity appears too easily. These systems cannot do that. They will always present an answer, even when the situation calls for uncertainty, reflection, or restraint. This means people must actively interpret output instead of passively accepting it. They must ask follow-up questions. They must consider alternative explanations. And they must remain willing to say, this answer sounds confident, but it may not be sufficient. Another important shift is separating speed from quality. Fast responses feel productive, but speed is not always a sign of good judgment. In many cases, slowing down leads to better decisions. When people understand that confident output is not a substitute for thinking, they regain control over how technology influences their choices. They use it to explore possibilities, not to finalize conclusions. This mindset does not reject technology. It places it in the right role. Understanding how to interpret confidence correctly is what allows powerful tools to support human judgment instead of quietly replacing it. The most important lesson about confidence systems is not about avoiding mistakes, but about understanding where responsibility truly belongs. Confidence alone does not equal reliability. Clear language does not guarantee understanding, and fast answers do not replace careful thinking. When people rely on confident output without reflection, they risk letting tone override judgment. They may stop asking follow-up questions, they may stop checking assumptions, and they may stop noticing when a situation deserves caution. These systems do not understand what matters. They do not understand why a decision is important, and they do not understand who will be affected by the outcome. Humans do. That difference is not a weakness, it is a responsibility. Using powerful tools wisely means staying involved. It means slowing down when confidence appears too easily. It means recognizing when a decision requires values, context, and accountability. This does not mean rejecting technology. It means placing it in the right role. When confident output is treated as input rather than instruction, people remain in control. They stay responsible for outcomes, and they retain the ability to correct mistakes before they scale. Understanding this shifts the conversation away from fear and hype. It brings clarity, it restores balance, and it allows technology to support human judgment instead of replacing it. The future will not be shaped by confident systems alone. It will be shaped by how thoughtfully people choose to use them. That choice is what ultimately matters. If you enjoyed this topic and want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. If the video helped you, you can leave a like. If not, you can dislike it. I'll survive. Thanks for watching.